one pedal operation.
Yes, single
so,
pedal driving.
So when you turn the regen up, that's what some EV owners call one pedal operation, right?
Yep.
So you hardly ever touch the brake.
Correct.
You use all that, or you channel all that back into the battery.
Yep.
And it's like playing a video game.
Yep.
Right? So, but does it feel? Does it take a while to get used to that?
So on the Tesla is well known in that it has done a very good job in making this one pedal driving feel very natural.
Right.
So for me, it took me less than a day of driving, probably about 20-30 kilometers worth of driving to get very used to the single pedal driving. Right. The Porsche engineered it slightly differently. They designed the car not so much for single pedal driving, but more towards getting the feel of the engine braking. So it's more, as we have been saying, it's more of a Porsche.
It's a Porsche trait, or it's
a Porsche powered by electricity. So they want to retain the Porsche feel. And so when I contrast how the philosophy or the engineering went into the Tesla and the Porsche, especially with respect to single pedal driving, it takes a lot less effort to learn and to single pedal drive in the Tesla. In the Taycan, I discovered that I actually still use the brakes, not a lot, but more. So that's when actually, like in city driving, I feel that the Tesla is probably better suited than the Porsche in terms of just like single pedal driving. And that honestly, I was comparing, like when you're coming home from work, it's traffic jam, right? When I drive this car, which doesn't have, of course, single pedal driving, it does have a little bit of regen. I find that I end up at home more tired than when I drive the Tesla. And it's all this combination of small things like the vibration, the fact that you don't have to like switch your foot and brake and be more anticipatory. And I find that it's definitely more relaxing to drive a full EV in the city.
And of course it's quieter and you know. I was going to ask you, have you done a journey like to Penang with your Tesla? And if so, or of the same distance, if so, how did the two cars compare in terms of...
the Tesla I've driven to JB, which is roughly the same...
About the same
distance. And similarly, I did it all on one charge. One charge there and one charge back. With the Tesla, I think it's probably because my car, at that time when I made the trip, it didn't have quite the right alignment, so it felt a bit squirrely when you go like 130, 140 a little bit. So it's a little bit more tiring to drive fast. But when you slow down to 110, 115, it's perfectly fine. Whereas of course the Taycan, I think they dialed it in properly. So you're literally going like this. Wow, oh, bloody hell, man, 160 already.
And it's effortless.
It's super composed, and that's the thing I cannot say enough about how they engineered the car. It's a very heavy car. It's heavier than the Tesla Model S, by the way. Tesla Model S is about 2,000 kilograms. This thing is about 150 kg heavier. And it does feel heavy, but it feels very composed and controllable heavy.
So this I was going to ask you, because this is of course heavier than a normal Porsche or an ICE engine Porsche. So, but you never feel overwhelmed, or it doesn't feel lethargic in the corners.
Oh no, not at all, not at all. The thing, I think the big difference would be that if you go on really tight twisties like your Ulu Yam or Genting, then you could feel the mass,
the weight moving
and so
around,
that one definitely a lighter car would win. I mean, but in terms of just like highways, gentle curves and all that, wow, you could drive for hours in this car and not feel very tired. You really enjoy it.
It just cocoons you, and having driven a couple of Porsches before that, it just, a Porsche wraps around you. It might feel big at first, but then it just wraps around you, and then it just becomes this really seamless
and
operation.
The big contrast is of course the way that the Taycan designed the battery pack underneath the car such that the driver still sits lower, so you do get the feel that it's a sports car, whereas the Tesla actually is just a straight forward battery pack, flat, so you sit higher. So that's one thing you notice also, and then of course that contributes to how the car feels, right? Because your hip is lower. even though both cars CG is lower because the battery is where
as
the mass
low
is,
as it can be.
But in the Porsche, you do sit lower, so you do feel like you said, cocoon, and it feels more sports car-like, whereas the Model S feels more sedan-like. So it's like comparing maybe a BMW M5 sports sedan
versus a 520D, let's say. Right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned a full battery pack at 99% or something equates roughly to about 8 liters of fuel. How would that compare to, let's say, a plug-in hybrid like the 330e? If you were to do the same the same journey, let's say to Penang, you still got the ups and downs. Of course, this has got an engine to help it out. But how would that translate to an overall fuel consumption? Do you think? Would you be able to draw any parallels with driving a?
I would say actually that plug-in hybrid, just because the range on most of these battery packs, but for example the 330e is only about 25 kilometers or so. And now even with the longest biggest battery pack available in Malaysia for plug-in hybrids is actually the BMW X5, the G05.
Correct.
That one has a 24 kilowatt hour battery. However, it will only take you 60 kilometers, right? So when you go on long distance trips like this, pretty much, except for a tiny percentage of the trip, you will be relying on your petrol engine. And the petrol engine now, unfortunately, is also burdened with the extra weight of the batteries. Right? And so if you do compare, for example, let's say this car has a 2-liter 4-cylinder.
The 320i?
The 330e.
And then
which is exactly the same engine as the 320i, right?
Yes, correct.
So the 320i will probably be slightly more efficient over the long distance compared with the 330e, even though they have the same engine, just purely by the fact that there's about close to 200 kilograms worth of batteries sitting in the back. So it's like having like two of your very large friends always sitting in the back.
and having to move them around. So of course, the argument is if you live, let's say, 20 km away from work and you charged it every night, then
absolutely,
you might not ever have the engine go.
Just anecdotally, this car right now, actually, because I've been using it as a daily driver to just go back and forth. So 40-liter petrol tank. Right now, I have about 1,600 kilometers on it.
All right. Wait.
Yes, because I'm using electric most of the time. And I'm still like I have about a third of the tank left. So this tank, I can probably get about 2,000 kilometers because, I get home, I plug in, right? So you go out, you come back, you plug in again. So I drive mostly on electricity on this way. And this car actually on electricity, on the electric motor, is actually quite fun. It's instant torque and all that.
Right. There's always that benefit as well. It's that instantaneous torque that you get from the battery.
That's right.
For the motor, rather. I wanted to... So, of course, I think the viewers will want to know this. Tesla and Taycan. Of course, your Tesla is a slightly older model. There is the P100D, the more powerful versions of it, and then you've got the Tree and all that. How would you be able to tell me how it felt between the Porsche and the...
Well, I'm glad that my Tesla's not here because kalau dia dengar nanti merajuk. But if let's say, if you take everything into account, I would say that I would still pick the Tesla because it's better value for money. But if you take away, let's say, the purchase price out of consideration, the equation, I would actually Taycan by a small margin. Mostly because of its excellent rapid charging network that is providing, and I've heard that actually they're going to expand it further, and of course the factory support, because as you know, Tesla in Malaysia is unofficial, so we are not really able to enjoy the same benefits as owners in official markets such as the supercharger network and then of course the service centers.
It's not as easy as taking your car to a service. But that brings me on to the fact of maintenance.